to Will's sister.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays. Like working your faces. Grace up the field, so time for laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the ASAP Sports Network, and you are watching another episode of Between the Ropes. But before we jump into our topics, everybody on the ASAP Network would like to wish you all a happy Valentine's Day and hope you guys had an awesome day. I hope you guys had some fantastic dinner, got your wife some flowers, everything else. I really hope you enjoyed your Valentine's Day. But before we get started, let me go ahead and introduce to you who we have tonight. Of course, welcome back, the Dragon Viper. How's it going tonight, buddy?
Going good. Doing well.
All right. And then, of course, in the bottom, he goes by none other than Mess Around Dave. How's it going tonight, buddy?
I'm good. I've been looking forward to doing this Attitude Era show. It's going to be lit.
And then, that's right, he's not Sergeant Slaughter. He's not Sergeant Junior. He just goes by the Sarge. How's it going?
Doing great. Doing great.
All right, so let me tell you what, tonight we have some lit topics for you because normally we'd come on and break down Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, but we're not doing that. We're actually going to take you back in time to when it was the absolute best era in wrestling, known as the Attitude Era. The 90s, early 2000s, absolutely phenomenal. But before we do that, we're going to show you a little bit of our ads here and our sponsors. The first sponsor we have is Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. So Nate the Great, go ahead and pull that bad boy up there.
Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us, from all of us here at the ASAP Network.
Oh man, I hear that and I gotta cool myself off because it's Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, and it just gets you going. All right, Nate. So go ahead and pull up the next one, which is that great Misty Meadows, the barbecue sauce and jam. And then, of course, last but not least, we have those awesome ASAP Network T-shirts you can win. And all you have to do to win one of those T-shirts is hop in the comments section, like, share our page, and then comment. And then what we do is at the end of every month, we add up all the comments. And if you have commented the most, guess what? You're the viewer of the month, and you get one of those awesome ASAP Network T-shirts. But just think about this. Are you sitting at home right now? Do you have a $20 bill in your pocket and you're sitting there thinking, man, I got a $20 bill in my pocket, but I need one of those shirts. How can I get a shirt? Well, guess what? It's only $14.99 plus shipping and handling. So even if you get one of those shirts, you're still going to have extra money in that pocket. So yes, go ahead and order one of those ASAP Network T-shirts. You can hit up anybody on the network and they can get those shirts to you ASAP. So please let us know. All right. So with that, and there's one of those awesome ASAP Network T-shirts right there. They're absolutely lit. They're on fire. They're awesome shirts. I love them. And the people who have ordered them from us and the viewers of the month, they've absolutely loved them too. All right. So, of course, our first topic of the night going back to the Attitude Era, and this is probably my favorite topic because when you look back to the Attitude Era, you know there is so many good rivalries that were back then. It is so hard to choose one, but I'm going to start with the Dragon Viper on this one, and I'm going to say, Dragon Viper, tell me, if you had to pick one of the best rivalries of all time, who would you have picked back then? Because, you know, when you think about it, you have like you have like Stone Cold versus The Rock. You have Triple H versus The Rock, Triple H Undertaker, Undertaker Kane. I mean, you have so many of them. I'm curious, where did you go with this?
Where I went with this was I chose Stone Cold versus Vince McMahon. I thought it was a great, rivalry, especially in the hospital, when Vince gets hit in the head with that bedpan, by Stone Cold. So I really love that rivalry.
Ooh, starting off with the old Stone Cold Steve Austin versus the Vince McMahon. I got to know where Mess Around Dave is going with this one.
See, so I pretty much figured that most of you guys would go with the Stone Cold McMahon. I'm not doing that because I knew that you guys would do it. And, like, who doesn't want that match? Like, that was one of the greatest. Like, who doesn't want to beat up their boss? But having said that, I am going to go with The Rock and Stone Cold because those two really carried the Attitude Era. If you think about it, they were so good on the mic. They're so good in the ring. And if it wasn't for those two, and countless others, obviously, but those two mainly carried the Attitude Era and made it what it was. So I picked their little rivalry as my top for the Attitude Era.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. You, Sarge, how about you? Are you going to go with Sergeant Slaughter? No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to go with Stone Cold and the Rock, but since Mess Around took that one, I'm going to go with The Undertaker and his brother Kane with Paul Bearer in there, because Paul Bearer said his long-lost brother was caught in the fire and everything else. It was during a cage match. Kane finally came out as a behemoth, ripped that door off, and it was awesome. And Mess Around, I don't know if you know this, but did you know that Stone Cold has beaten The Rock every single time at WrestleMania?
Except once, the last match,
one.
right? Yeah.
The last one.
Yeah. So let me throw this out there really, really quick because we do have a few comments in the section. So number one, we have a comment from Amy that says she has her favorite rivalry back then from the Attitude Era. So if you want to go ahead and put that in the comments section, we will go ahead and answer that for you on screen. And then, of course, my dad tonight is watching the show. And so his question is, do dads get their shirts free? I don't know. We'll see. You might get one of those awesome ASAP Network T-shirts for free. We'll see. I'll look into that. I think I can hook you up with a shirt. All right. So now, coming back to that best rivalry of the Attitude Era, this is where it got me disappointed here because Dragon Viper immediately went with Stone Cold and Vince McMahon. And then you have Mess Around Dave, who decides to go with Stone Cold and The Rock, which I'm like, man, you're killing me, man. You are absolutely killing me with that. And then, of course, you have the Sarge, who goes with The Undertaker and Kane. I'm like, man, you guys are killing me with these rivalries because those were three awesome rivalries that I love to see. But if I had to pick one that I think people were kind of overlooking, and that was when it was Triple H and the Mankind rivalry. I kind of like how that went down. That was an excellent rivalry too for the championship several times. Now, I know it's kind of interesting when we look at these different types of rivalries, but I'm going to ask you a question about the rivalry that you had chosen. So, Dragon Viper, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with you. Tell me, who do you think got the better of that rivalry? Was it Stone Cold Steve Austin or was it Vince McMahon? Who would you give the overall victor to in that rivalry?
I would have to give it to Stone Cold. Most definitely. Stone Cold, did a lot more. And, he did every vile thing he could possibly do that didn't have to do with the resources of the company itself, while Vince just used the company to try and outdo Stone Cold. But I think Stone Cold outdid Vince in that one.
All right, mess around, Dave. So you have The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin as the best rivalry of the Attitude Era. In this one, I can tell you can take a knife and cut it down the middle because it is so close. But if you had to give one and you had to say which one got the upper hand, which one would you say had the upper hand?
Well, it's like you said, you could pick either one and not have a wrong answer, but you'd have to go with Stone Cold because he won almost every match but the last one at Mania. So, and then he had to when The Rock was with the corporation, funny part where Steve came out with the Budweiser truck and hosed them all down with the beer. That was great. So I'm gonna have to go with Stone Cold on this one because of all that. He won more of the matches, so it's Stone Cold.
All right, and then for you, Sarge, when you look at The Undertaker and Kane, because that whole Paul Bearer gimmick, it was back and forth. Paul Bearer with The Undertaker, and then with Kane, then with Undertaker, then with Kane. But when you look at the overall picture, who would you say had the upper hand in this rivalry?
I want to say Kane, only due to the fact that no one knew who the brother was and so forth, and it was a complete surprise at Bad Blood in 1997. And like I said earlier, it was a steel cage match that Undertaker was in, where Kane finally came down and ripped off the doors and was towering over the Undertaker. I thought that was great. Also, Kane also brought the Inferno match, First Blood match, and everything else.
I'll tell you what, they had some really, really great matches, and don't forget the Buried Alive matches that they had. And their WrestleMania matches were really, really intense. And then when you look at the rivalry that I chose, which was Triple H and Mankind, really, I mean, yeah, it was a rivalry, but you obviously have to give it to the game Triple H over Mankind because, Triple H definitely accomplished more in that rivalry than Mankind did. But when you look at that rivalry, they were so different. They were different types of wrestlers because Mankind was more of that. That's why he was the hardcore legend, because that's the type of wrestler he was. Triple H was not that style of wrestler. Triple H was the in ring, the pound pedigree in the corner kick, but Mankind was the hardcore legend, and so that's why I like it. And so I'm going to throw an interesting curveball in here. Something just popped in my head about the Attitude Era, and I have to know your guys' opinions on this because this has been going around for quite a while.
Mania matches were really, really intense. And then when you look,
when it comes to that, I'm going to talk about the Mick Foley and Mankind thing here. So, Dragon Viper, I'm going to start with you. You tell me, which Mankind character did you enjoy the most? Was it Dude Love, Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, or was it in fact Mankind that you enjoyed the most?
I enjoyed Cactus Jack by far. Mankind, was second there, but I really enjoyed Cactus Jack.
Now, was it because he was more of the hardcore style or what?
Yes, absolutely. I like the hardcore style of wrestling, and it was great. I really like Cactus over the rest of them.
Now I'm going to go to Mess Around Dave on this one. Mess Around, you tell me which Foley character did you enjoy the most?
Oh, God, the face of the Foley. Jeez, I can't pick one. I liked them all. I thought they were all great. Bang, bang, have a nice day. The Dude Love persona was awesome too. I liked them all. I can't pick a favorite. They were all good.
All right. Sarge, how about you? Which one did you like the most?
It's a battle between Mankind and Cactus Jack, but like what Mess Around said, bang, bang. Cactus Jack, you never know what he was going to do in that match. It was no matter if he's going to pull out those those little push pins or anything else. I just think he just was awesome and brought excitement.
I feel like, and the only reason I'm saying Mankind is because it makes me think back to the Hell in a Cell match with Undertaker. Okay, so I go back that far, and it makes me think about how much risks he would take with his character of Mankind. I felt like he took a lot more risks with him. Yes, he was a lot more hardcore with Cactus Jack, don't get me wrong on that. But him being a risk taker was a lot more when he was actually the persona of Mankind. And so that's why I personally said that Mankind was my favorite persona of Mick Foley. And so we do have another comment up here that I love that rivalry. Most knowledge of WWE comes from. So the one that he's talking about is that Amy stated that her favorite rivalry then was Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. Which I'm not taking anything away because personally that was a great rivalry in itself. How could it not be? The last point I'll bring up about, speaking of a Royal Rumble really quick since that was brought up, what do you guys think about that? Interesting fact, years and years and years ago, that in a Royal Rumble, Mick Foley brought out the different versions of all of his characters. So he got 3 different entrants in the Royal Rumble because he brought out every single one of his characters in the Rumble.
It was creative.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was creative, and I thought the Fiend was going to do it on this last match or this last Rumble as well. But Mick Foley, I gotta love him.
Yeah, it would have been funny to see the Fiend do the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and then Husky Harris. Because a lot of people don't remember about Husky Harris. They don't remember about Husky Harris. But he was Husky Harris. But I don't want to go too much into that. But that one was funny when Mick Foley was able to pull that off and bring out all 3 of his characters in there. So that was really, really cool. All right, so now we can jump to the best rivalry side of the Divas, looking back then in the Attitude Era. And with this one, I'll go ahead and I'll start with Mess Around Dave on this one. Who was your favorite diva rivalry back from the Attitude Era?
It's got to be Trish and Lita, the 2 that carried the women's division back then. You can't go wrong with that one, and there's nobody else that compares with what those 2 women did for that division back then. They were the top of the top. They were the cream of the crop. So, the things they did in the ring, back and forth. They both started out as managers for different tag teams, and they went from there. For me, it's those 2.
All right, Sarge?
I would have to agree with Mess Around because Trish and Lita actually started the Diva Revolution. And because they were the first Diva match that was main event on Raw. And I believe Lita won that match. And, Lita also revolutionized how the Divas wrestled because she was doing moonsaults off the turnbuckle, which was unheard of.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting when you go down that route between Trish and Lita, because I don't want to be the same, because I personally say we could all sit here and say that obviously on the Diva side, the greatest rivalry back then was Trish and Lita, but I don't want it to be the same. So I kind of had to go a little bit of a different route, and I'm starting to think about a little bit later into the Attitude Era. Who did you have as a rivalry on the Diva side? Who came in and really kind of took the reins from Trish Stratus? And the person I'm talking about is Mickie James. So I'm going Trish Stratus versus Mickie James. That was a great rivalry in itself because Mickie James came in, and was best friends with Trish and played a lot of mind games with Trish Stratus. So that's why I really, really enjoyed the rivalry that they had. And so you could see that towards the end, it was more of Trish was trying to pass the baton to Mickie James and say, okay, I'm leaving, Lita's leaving. China at that point was gone. So it was pretty much at that point it was going to be Mickey James to take it over, and that she did it. She did it. She won multiple championships, and now where is she now? She's a legend. She's a Divas legend. So Dragon Viper, go ahead and tell me your Divas best rivalry from the Attitude Era.
This one was kind of tough. I'm not gonna lie about it, but there was a small rivalry going on between Trish Stratus and Stephanie McMahon, and it had to do with Vince McMahon, and even Linda McMahon got involved in that. But I would have to say Trish Stratus and Stephanie McMahon.
I mean, not bad. Anytime you have to play somebody against the boss, I mean, obviously there's going to be a rivalry. And I'm not talking about the boss Becky Lynch, the boss Sasha Banks, just so everybody knows. I'm not talking about that, okay? I'm talking about the boss and Vince McMahon. Anytime you have somebody go against the boss, the big boss, there's going to be some kind of rivalry going on now. And so that's why you went with Stone Cold then, because of that rivalry that they had back then, because he's going up against the boss. So I think the way everybody picked their rivalry, I think was great. And so Sarge and Mess Around, you guys had the same exact rivalry, and I don't fault you for it. It was a great one. Were you guys thinking at any point that you could have put China in there somewhere? I mean, China.
It is hard because she feuded with the guys. I mean, that's where I got with China. If the question was like, I don't know, because if it's like the Diva rivalry, it's different with China because China got more mixed in with the men's wrestling because how she was tied with DX.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, not only DX, but I mean, she'd go off and become Intercontinental Champion against Jeff Jarrett and then against Chris Jericho. So I agree. It was more on the lines that she was more into wrestling the men than the females. So,
all right. Mess Around, do you have any thoughts on that before we go on to our next topic?
I didn't think about China because, just like Tim said, Sarge said, she was more involved with the men. She was more in the background with DX and all that. She didn't have a rivalry as far as the women's division went. So that's why I didn't include her.
All right. So going to our next topic of the night, we actually jump to the tag team side, which on the tag team side, we say, who was the best tag team back from the Attitude Era? This to me was kind of tough, but I'll go ahead and I'll start with the Sarge on this one. So Sarge, go ahead and tell me, who was the best tag team back from the Attitude Era?
Oh my goodness, this was probably one of my most difficult questions to even answer, and because there's a lot of tag teams that were awesome during the Attitude Era, but I'm gonna stick with my guns. And I'm going to go with the Brothers of Destruction because you got two behemoths, two brothers coming together and just knocking everyone around. I thought that was awesome, and I loved it.
Okay. I like that only because you picked one of my favorite wrestlers of all time in Kane. So that's why I like that. So Dragon Viper, I'm going to go to you. You tell me, who was the best tag team from the Attitude Era?
Oh, Sarge actually took mine, so I have a secondary, luckily. No, it was Shawn Michaels and Triple H. I think they were excellent together as a tag team. They were excellent when they were rivals, but as one of the greatest tag teams in the Attitude Era, I'd have to say Shawn Michaels and Triple H.
All right, so this for me, I'll tell you, it was tough because when you look at the Attitude Era and all the different tag teams you have, you can think of APA, you can think of the Hardy Boys, you can think of the Dudley Boys. You can think of Triple H and Shawn Michaels. There is so many. And yes, even the Rock and Sock connection. You can even think of that too. You can even think of Kane and X-Pac. But so it can go on and on and on and on when you really, really think about the best tag teams back then. But to me, it came down to 3. It was either the Dudleys, the Hardys, or Edge and Christian. And the only reason it came down to those 3 is because of basically what they did for the tag team industry. When you look at the way it is now, what's a big pay-per-view that everybody talks about now? TLC.
Ladders and chairs.
Everybody loves the TLC. And what 3 teams did the TLC? Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, and the Dudleys. Those 3 were the ones who basically created the TLC match. So for me, it was extremely hard when I looked at that, but I had to go with accomplishments. And so going off pure accomplishments, I actually had to go with Edge and Christian because of pure accomplishments. And it was hard. It was really, really hard though. And so mess around, this goes to you.
I would, it'd be really lame if one of us didn't choose this group. So I'm going to go with the Hardys. How could you not put the Hardys in this group? With everything they did, like you said, that they invented the TLC matches. And it, like Jeff Hardy going off the ladders onto somebody else on the ladder, the things they did in that match are so innovative. And those 2 teams and the Dudleys carried the tag team division for years and made it what it was. You don't have that today. Today you got guys who are just thrown together. It's the tag team division was so much better back then. So I'm going to go with the Hardy Boys.
So we have Warren who says APA, Edge, and Christian, they solidified tag team wrestling. And Warren, I completely agree with you. That's why I went with Edge and Christian, even though it was really, really hard because of the Dudleys and the Hardys. But I had to do it because of pure accomplishments. But I'll tell you, and maybe you guys agree with me on this and maybe you don't, but I think some of the greatest matches back then was TLC matches. I look forward to those matches. Every time they happen, I'm like, something's going to happen. This is going to be fantastic. Yeah. And you never knew who was going to win the TLC matches. It was just always so back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It was awesome. This is awesome.
Made it look like a car wreck every single time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So now we talked about the best tag teams back from the Attitude Era, and this show is reeking of awesomeness. I will say that right now. So now we're going to go to what match did you want to see from the WWE/WCW era? And Dragon Viper, I'll go ahead and I'll start with you on this one.
I actually wanted to see a match between Vince McMahon and Eric Bischoff. I would love to see that match.
Wow, I'm speechless on that one. I'm not sure where to go from that one.
There was an episode on WCW where Eric Bischoff, maybe a couple episodes, where Eric Bischoff would stand there and challenge Vince, and it never happened. And I would have loved to see something like that happen.
All right. Mess around, Dave. Go to you. I'm just not sure what to say on that. Okay.
Right. So this match I would have loved to have seen it. And they talked about it happening, but Vince threw a wrench in it, said, "We're not doing that. You're going to go to the announce table." Randy Macho Man Savage versus Shawn Michaels. It's been a great match. Two of the high flyers, strong guys. That match was my dream match. I would have loved to see that. And from Sarge's reaction, it looks like I stole your answer. Sorry, bud.
Hey, great minds think alike, man. Great minds think alike.
So I'm guessing he did take your answer. You're like, oh yeah, he took my answer. Well, do you have a backup one or not?
Yeah, I got a backup one. I would like to see like Steve Austin versus Goldberg. You got the two faces of each brand during that time going after each other. Even though Goldberg had only 5 moves, well, let me paraphrase. He only had 2 moves, but still, I think Austin would have been able to carry Goldberg. But that's the match I would have wanted to see.
Ooh. Yeah, thinking about it back then, it was so hard because obviously when the Monday Night Wars came, you're like, man, there are so many different matches that I would want to see that personally I couldn't really think of one that I would want to see any more than another one, because obviously the most famous one that everybody wanted to see was Undertaker versus Sting, and it was one that, you know, nobody ever got, and nobody's gonna get to see it, which to me is kind of sad, because I wish that personally we all could have seen it. And yet again, to this day, it's sad. I'm crying because we're just not going to be able to see it. So now our next one that we're going to talk about is we're going to jump into who was better. If you had to pick, was it DX or was it NWO? In this one, mess around, Dave, I'm going to start with you. Who was better? Was it DX or was it NWO?
Oh my gosh, this was so tough because they both meant so much to their respective companies at that time. They were the reason for the Monday Night Wars, DX and NWO. But if I'm going to pick one, I'm going to pick DX only because they lasted a lot longer. Their stable was around longer. They had 2 of the greatest wrestlers in the company on their side at the time with Shawn Michaels and Triple H. So I'm going to go with DX on this one.
Sarge?
Ace, I got 2 letters for you. DX.
That's what I thought. Okay.
So with that being said, like DX, the only reason I'm picking them because they're the ones that got in the tank, went to a WCW match or tried to invade the match with the tank, if you guys can recall that. And NWO just became a train wreck because you had like a red NWO. I forget all the names of the NWO. There's like 5 different NWOs.
The Wolfpack, yeah.
The Wolfpack, yep. So with that being said, I have to go with DX because, come on, they had a tank. I'm the Sarge. Come on.
All right. How about, I think I know where Dragon Viper's going with this one, because he's already wearing their shirt. He's already got a DX shirt on. So obviously that's probably where Dragon Viper's going with is DX. And give me your reasoning for it.
My reasoning for it is because they seemed a lot more fun when they did their pranks. They didn't. I felt the NWO was a little dark on what they were doing. But I feel that DX was like more up and fun and with their pranks, with what they were doing, what they were bringing to the show every week. I mean, they kind of calmed down after a while, but you know, for the beginning, they were really great at their pranks and had a lot of fun doing it, and I loved watching it.
You know what? Obviously, it's DX because just of 2 names right off the bat, you have the Game and Triple H, and you have the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. How can you go any worse than that? 2 Hall of Famers, 2 of the best in-ring competitors to ever step foot in the ring.
Absolutely.
So I don't know how you could go any other way but DX. Now, I'm not going to take anything away from NWO, but Sarge, it's just like you said, there was a lot of knockoffs of NWO. But when you look at DX, there was only one of them. Now, I know after time, yeah, it was Triple H and Shawn Michaels after a while, after they kind of all split up, and then you saw just Triple H and Shawn Michaels back together as DX. So DX was awesome. They got 2 words. Well, never mind. All right, I'm staying away from that. I'm staying away from that.
Ace, the other thing is the reason why I didn't care about NWO so much is because they had way too many members to keep track of who was even in it at a certain point. And I mean, you guys are right. They had the NWO and NWO Wolfpack because they had so many members, but you still didn't know exactly everyone that was even in those groups half the time. So it was kind of boring, really.
Oh. So you don't like it when there's a big stable?
I like it if you knew everybody that was in that stable. But when you're going off half the roster and you don't know everybody that's actually in the NWO, it made no sense to me.
So Brandon Herrera is actually coming out saying that he said we are killing him because he's got to go NWO for life.
This is why I went for live.
NWO. So mess around, Dave. I don't know if I asked you yet. So you tell me. Did I ask you yet?
Yeah, you did. I went with DX because I had
DX. Yeah, DX. That's right. Okay. So now jumping away from that now between DX and NWO, I'm going to throw a few wrestlers' names out there and you tell me if this individual deserved to have a championship title run. I'm not talking about like the Intercontinental title or even when the European championship was there. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, did this certain individual deserve the WWE championship? The first name I'm going to throw out there is William Regal. And mess around, I'm going to go ahead and start with you. Did William Regal at some point deserve a title run?
I know a lot of you are probably going to say no, but I'm going to say yes to this because of what he did in the ring. And the guy was such a technical wrestler. He could do anything in the ring, and he was good on the mic. He had the skills. He just never got that push for whatever reason. But I think he definitely deserved the title run.
All right, Sarge.
Wow, like I said, great minds think alike. God is awesome. I can say yes. He was like the Daniel Bryan of that time as a technical wrestler. I thought he was great. I enjoyed watching him when he was out there with his character and everything else. And now what he does with the with Next, I think it's great. I thought he was a great wrestler.
And I think I know what Dragon Viper is going to say because immediately once I said it, he rolled his eyes and was like, psh. So I know where he's going with that one to where he's going to be like, no, I don't think he does. So Dragon Viper, you go ahead and tell me what you think.
The answer is no. I always saw him as a mid-carder. I never, ever, as much work as he's put into that company, even back then, as much work as he's done with that company, I always saw him as a mid-carder. I just could not like him or see him enough as anybody who would hold a major title.
So you're telling me that William Regal, of his in-ring talent, everything he's done, you're telling me the dude did not deserve a title push. He did not deserve a heavyweight champion. Are you kidding me?
No.
Right? Get out of here.
That's how I see it. That's how I saw it. That's how I saw him.
They gave the title push to Bob Backlund and not Regal. Are you kidding me? I would have given one to Regal to Backlund.
I wouldn't have given one to Backlund either.
William Regal was a much better technical wrestler.
I wouldn't have given one to Backlund, and I wouldn't have given one to Regal.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
I see the comment in here that says that from a Warren that said a great technical but never a big guy. Rey Mysterio won the WWE Championship, so it's not about the size.
No. I don't think he means the size of him. I'm thinking, I don't think he's saying his character-wise wasn't big enough for him to deserve a title push. I think that's where he's going with it. I don't think he's talking about the size, but to me, it doesn't matter. He was such a good technical wrestler. He did everything the company asked of him. Everything they asked of him. All he did was work his butt off week in and week out. What's he doing now? He's actually a coach. He's actually coaching new wrestlers as they come in now because he's so good at what he does. And so at some point, I'm like, he definitely deserved a title shot. He did. And he deserved a title run. He really did. Now, the next one I'm going to say was actually one of my favorites in the, like, closet favorite guys. He was actually in the NWO, and I'm going to actually – or not the NWO, sorry, was in DX, and I'm going to actually go with X-Pac. So I'm going to start with Mess Around Dave on this one. Tell me, what do you think of X-Pac?
Do I think he deserved a title run?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. He was no, I don't think he did. Only because he was just, I don't know, he was funny, he had the personality, but I just, for whatever reason, I didn't really care for X-Pac. I don't think he deserved a run. Maybe, I'm pretty sure he had a couple, maybe Intercontinental titles. I don't know. I don't remember back that far, but as far as the world titles, nope.
All right, Sarge.
No. When he was with DX, he wasn't part of the main DX. Well, I guess he was not the first name that comes off your head when you talk about DX with that. So it's a hard no for me saying that he could have a world title.
Yeah, I would say no. But I threw him out there because a lot of people, when they look at title shots, they talk about how much of a technical wrestler is he? I mean, yeah, he had some in-ring skills, but he wasn't that type of guy that I thought really deserved a title push. But Dragon Viper, because Dragon Viper disagrees with us a lot, so it's not going to surprise me if he says yes on this one. So, Dragon Viper, you go ahead and take it away and tell me what you think on this.
I'm actually going to agree with you guys.
Oh, wow. I'm
Stop
so
the press.
No, I don't think he was Intercontinental Champion, which I feel that's the highest that he should have gone. He shouldn't have held a title. Again, I see him as a mid-carder. I never saw him as anything higher. So, but I totally agree with you guys.
I am shocked. I am truly shocked that you agreed with us on that one.
Are you okay, Randy? Is everything all right?
Everything's fine.
So the next one that I'm going to say, because this individual, I've said for a long time that this guy always deserved a WWE championship title. And I don't care if you guys disagree with me or not on this, because I'll tell you, you're all wrong if you say this guy did not deserve a title. And that was Razor Ramon. Tell me right now that guy did not deserve a WWE championship. And Dragon Viper, I'll start with you on this one.
Yes, he did deserve it. He,
Hey, yo.
He was real good at what he did in the ring. He was great on the mic. Yeah, absolutely, he would have deserved a title shot and title reign. So,
Mess Around Dave.
Hey, it's a bad guy, Chico. Having said that, I'm going to say no. Only because he was a mid-card guy, and that's all he ever deserved to be. I mean, I don't think he was good, but he wasn't that great. He had some great matches with Shawn Michaels. I know they had the first ladder match for the IC title, but I'm going to say no, only because he didn't have the staying power. I mean, if he would have stayed, not deflected to WCW, yeah, I could have seen him get a title shot, but since he left, it's a no for me.
Dave, you have officially disappointed me. So with that being said, I think everybody is ready to vote to Mess Around Dave off the island.
I was a big Razor Ramon fan, okay? He was one of my favorites back then. But still, I'm going to say no on that one.
No, this guy, man, he was like another William Regal. He did everything he had to. He was in the first ever ladder match with Shawn Michaels.
Right.
So
I know that. but
and,
still,
and tell me, like that was an awesome match. I truly enjoyed that match, and I thought that Razor Ramon was definitely one of those underrated guys. And I'm like, come on, man, this guy deserves a WWE championship. But we did have a question that somebody said, are we going to cover Raw and SmackDown tonight? So if you happen to miss it before the show, we are not. This is strictly Attitude Era and like 90s and stuff like that. So no, we are not. All right. So Sarge, I did not get your take on this one.
I don't know who these guys are. Yes, he deserved a title shot. I mean, come on. Look at his in-ring skill. It was awesome. I mean, I think it was his name, like his gimmick, kind of like Diesel, who I think could have, I would say he shouldn't have won a title, but could have wrestled for it. But I think Razor would have been a great one. If I had a toothpick, I'll be throwing at you guys right now. Come on.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, yo. Hey, yo. All right. And then, of course, the last one for do they deserve a title run, or I should say, did they deserve a title run or not? The last one was coming down between two individuals, but I decided that I'm going to ask about Curt Hennig on this one, Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig. And so, Sarge, did Mr. Perfect deserve a WWE championship?
Yes, come on. It's in his name. Perfect. I mean, he was great in the ring, and yes, he battled addictions and everything else, but I do believe that he was a top wrestler during his time when he was around.
Dragon Viper, please don't disappoint me on this one. So you go ahead and tell me. Don't disappoint me. Come on.
No. I saw him as a mid-carder. He was he had great in-ring talent, but I didn't feel it was good enough to be, world champion.
Oh my goodness. For all of you watching out there, I want to publicly apologize for that craziness that Dragon Viper is just talking about right now, because this is complete and utter ridiculous. Okay, I am so sorry for the disrespect that is going out there right now, because that is complete and utter disrespect to the man that we call Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig. And so, mess around. You tell me, did he deserve a WWE championship? And please tell me yes.
Hell no. No, I'm kidding. Absolutely. He deserved a title shot. The stuff that guy was doing in the ring, perfect. The guy's gimmick was awesome. His talent in the ring, his mind. How did he not? The only reason he didn't get a title push back then is because there were so many top big names back then.
Well, not only that, but I think a lot of it was through like addiction and everything else. And so that had a lot to do with it. So they didn't really want to give him that run, but he deserved it. He was so good in the ring and great on the mic. And I know Dragon Viper's underneath going, "Oh, you guys are killing." I mean, you're killing me, dude. Like, you're utterly ridiculous right now, because this is ridiculous. I don't know how you could not sit here and tell me that Curt Hennig did not deserve a title run. That is freaking crazy. Jinder freaking Mahal got a title run, and you're telling me that Curt Hennig didn't deserve it, and Jinder Mahal got a title run?
Yeah. Now, if you compare Jinder Mahal to Mr. Perfect, then yes, I would say Mr. Perfect should have been champion. But if we're comparing, because I dislike Jinder Mahal, but no, I totally don't agree that he should have been champion.
Oh my goodness. Oh my. Wow. So
blasphemous.
I got to go away from that because I'm about to lose my mind after that. But I'm throwing something out here too that you guys were not expecting, a question that you might actually have to think a little bit about. So this might get interesting here. And mess around, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Run it.
Who from the Attitude Era had, and you're right on the right track, who had the best catchphrase?
From the Attitude Era?
Who had the best catchphrase?
Ooh.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking, gotta be the Rock. The lines that guy threw out, 9 in, 9 out, he was gold on the mic.
Okay, so you're taking The Rock. Sarge, how about you?
Oh, man. Oh, what a rush. The Road Warriors. I went a little back earlier, but yes.
Hey, that's okay. It went back.
They were there at the Attitude Era.
Towards they were there like at the beginning of the Attitude Era, yeah. Towards the beginning. All right. I know I'm gonna hate this, but I have to go to Dragon Viper now. And so Dragon Viper, what do you think about the catchphrase?
You know,
It doesn't matter what you think.
Walk right into it.
I did.
So with that,
I did.
all right. So Dragon Viper, you tell me who had the best catchphrase back then.
Yes, good question. If we're talking about a single person here, I have to go with Stone Cold, and not the what catchphrase, but the others he did. So
The one at 316 said that I just whipped your ass.
yeah,
That one? No.
as well as others, but like I said, the what was the only thing I didn't like, but everything else that he had, I did like.
It was a good one, but how could you not go with The Rock, man? His mic skills were brilliant, night in, night out, all the crap he came up with. And the funny thing is that a lot of people don't realize. And so, like, there was writers who come out and write these scripts and their so-called things that they're supposed to say. But The Rock, that was all him. He came up with all of his own lines. And that's why I'm saying that's what was so brilliant about it, because he could come up with anything off top of his head. I loved it. It was brilliant. It was awesome. And so how
irritated me.
Oh yeah, well, that's not a shocker. That's definitely not a shocker. Right? So we went over catchphrases. We went over best rivalry. We went over best tag team. And well, Brandon is saying the what phase.
I didn't like that one.
Oh, he liked it. He said it was good.
Oh,
What?
what?
Yeah, that was one of the people like that catchphrase. I don't know. That to me I didn't really catch on to it too much. That one to me was kind of annoying in a way, but I actually, like I said, I really enjoyed the whole Rock one. How could you not? It was brilliant. Everything he did on the mic was absolutely nothing more than perfect.
But that wasn't the bottom line, because Combs Told said so. I mean,
I don't care. It is the bottom line. It is the bottom
line.
Oh,
All right,
What?
so we're at that point now where we're getting towards the end of it. So, Mess Around, I'm going to start with you and say, is there one other thing from the Attitude Era that you want us to touch on? And I'll start with you.
Well, the Montreal Screwjob. The
Okay.
big thing in the whole Attitude Era, like most talked about.
All right, so Montreal Screwjob. Okay, if you want to talk about that, we can go ahead and we can talk about it. So let's look at the Montreal Screwjob, and we know what Shawn Michaels has said when it first happened. Shawn Michaels came out and said he didn't know anything about it. That's what he said. He looked at The Undertaker when The Undertaker was like, I don't want to talk to you, because I don't know if you watched the whole documentary of this, the whole Montreal Screwjob, and the first thing that Shawn Michaels said was, where is Undertaker? Because that was like the first person he was worried about, because he knew that Undertaker was going to be mad. So that was like the first person he was worried about. So mess around. Since you want to talk about this, I'll bring this up to you first and tell me, what do you think about the Montreal Screwjob, and do you honestly think that Shawn Michaels knew about it?
Of course he knew about it. He was in on it the whole time. They all were Vince, Triple H, the Clique. They all knew about it. They just didn't want to say it because they didn't want to get in the hot water with the Taker, who was the lead dog at that time.
Well, so if you remember, though, there was actually a different referee who was supposed to be in this match, but they actually pulled him out prior to and said, "Nope, we're not going to use you. We're going to use this guy." And so at that point, he's like, "Wait, something isn't right here because they're pulling me out of this match and putting in somebody else." And then it turns out that the referee actually had a car waiting for him out back. And so you're like, yeah, he knew about it. Vince knew. A lot of guys knew. And Shawn Michaels had it.
Before the match, Bret talked to the referee and said, "Hey, is anything fishy happening tonight?" And the referee told him, "No, not that I'm aware of. I promise you nothing's going on as far as I know." And then they had the car waiting for him because he did know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, Sarge, what's your opinion on that?
I believe that, Shawn Michaels was in on it because it was a known fact that Bret Hart did not want to drop the title because his contract was ending, and he did not want to drop the title like that. And, he can't just leave to a different company with the title, I believe, like what Sable did, dump it in the garbage. So Shawn Michaels had to know.
Well, that's how all that came down anyways, is because Vince was worried about Bret taking the title and running to WCW and taking the title there. So that's why this whole thing came about anyway. And so Dragon Viper, all right, I guess I'll ask your opinion on this one too. So you tell me.
Okay, well, first off, I want to say it was actually Alundra Blaze that ended up in WCW and putting the title in the garbage can. So, my opinion is that it was a setup from beginning of the match. It was. I see Vince's reasoning behind it, because when Vince mentioned, you got to do what you got to do to say, protect your company. That's pretty much what Vince did. Vince set it all up. Shawn was in on it. Earl Hebner was in on it. Triple H was even in on it. And Vince was just protecting his company so that the same thing didn't happen to the world title. So, yeah, I think everybody knew about it. They were just playing it off as Vince was the only one that knew.
All right, now we'll go to you, Sarge, and say, is there one other thing from the Attitude Era that you would like to come up with or talk about?
I mean, it was with the WWE delayed tapes, because everyone knows that during WCW that they were reading off the results of WWE all on live. But what happened was Mankind beat The Rock during those delayed tapes, and that's what happened. Like the shift of the whole Monday Night War started to happen because everyone was like, "Oh man, we missed that match. We gotta watch that match." I mean, I think WCW shot themselves in the foot just by that match right there. That's my belief, and I'm sticking to it because that's the bottom line. Because that's what the star said.
All right, so you were talking about what? So I didn't quite understand what your question was. Were you talking about what created the Monday Night Wars? Is that what you were trying to say? Or what killed the whole Monday Night War? What put WWE over the top? All right, so sounds like this.
It was like what put WWE over the top. It was right when
Mankind won the title. Yeah. So, Dragon Viper, I'll go to you on that and tell me, do you think that that's what put WWE over the top? Because everybody remembers that Monday night when Mankind won the title and everybody had to shift over really quick because it was on the Monday Night Wars, and people were like, "Oh, WCW," but Mankind just won the title, so we have to jump over now to watch it. So, do you agree with the Sarge on that? That's what kind of put WWE over the top?
Absolutely. That was the starting of the end of WCW. They had I believe it was a 52-week rating win over WWE, and just one little announcement on their broadcast led them to, start dying from there. It's all because of what was said is what started the end of WCW. So
yeah, and I'll be honest, when WCW was out there, I would watch them until WWE started. Like I would watch like the first hour of WCW and then be like, "Oh, WWE starting, I got to flip over." And so that's basically what I would do every single night. So mess around. Do you agree with that too?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That and a lot of what DX was doing at the time really shifted the ratings worse towards WWE, because all this funny stuff they were doing with the face shield with Sergeant Slaughter, they're like, hold on, we want the news, not the weather. They put that on. All the stuff they were doing had a lot to do with it too. But Mankind was a huge part of that. And during the Monday Night Wars, when I watch it, I'd have it picture in picture. So I'd have WCW in the box, then Raw on the big screen. So I watched them both at the same time. But
yeah, which
was my favorite.
Which Warren actually made a good point too, because he did say that one thing that WCW did was when they started putting all these celebrities in too many matches, because you can go back to David Arquette and realize, come on, he won the championship. So that was crazy. That kind of killed WCW right there, because David Arquette came out and said, I never should have won it. I never deserved to have the title, but I didn't want it, and they made me take it. They made me take the belt.
I'm seriously thinking WCW, when they saw their ratings slipping, I think they were trying too hard at some point where it didn't even work so I think they tried too hard, and that's what killed them completely.
All right, so Dragon Viper, now it comes to you. Do you have any last thing you want to touch on?
Just the very first formation of Degeneration X. I mean, and thanks to Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation it started with Undertaker and how Undertaker started, getting Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and at that time Chyna and Rick Rude to form DX, but what really formed it is the Hart Foundation, when they called them degenerates. And that's when Shawn Michaels came out and said, oh, we're degenerates? Well, guess what? We're Degeneration X. And yeah.
All right. So I know it's throwback of the Attitude Era, but before we call it a show, unless you guys had any last comments on what Dragon Viper was just saying. Mess around, you have any comments on that?
Not really. I mean, I agree with everything you said. Hart Foundation really was the kickstart to DX with like you said, they were calling them degenerates and stuff. So I agree with Dragon Viper for once.
All right, Sarge.
I thought it was great rivalries, like with the State of the Union address and Shawn Michaels putting the Union flag in his nose. I mean, the Hart Foundation was the starting blocks of Degeneration X.
All right, so of course, before I went to you guys quick, what I was going to say was we all know that next week is another pay-per-view. We have the Elimination Chamber next week. So with the Elimination Chamber being next week, I'm going to start with Mess Around and give me your prediction of, let's say the two predictions you have for the championship matches.
Two predictions?
Yeah, of the championship matches of both of the title matches.
I think Randy Orton's gonna win the Elimination Chamber match for Raw, and it's gonna set up a WrestleMania match between Edge and Randy Orton at WrestleMania for the title.
Edge and Orton, or you mean the Fiend and Orton?
Edge and Orton.
Oh wow, that's pretty bold right there. Okay,
And I think Reigns is going to retain in the other one.
Oh yeah, he definitely will. Who's gonna face him though? Who do you think's gonna face him?
Seth freaking Rollins.
Okay. All right, Sarge.
I'm gonna have to go with McIntyre. Actually, both champions actually retaining, and and I think it's gonna be McIntyre versus Orton and Edge versus Roman Reigns at Mania, and that's what I think it's gonna happen. And I think it's gonna be a failed attempt from the Miz cashing in on the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, and when it comes to that, so mess around. I don't know if you know, but there's a lot of rumors going around right now that it's going to be the Fiend versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. That's why I'm saying I don't think Randy Orton's going to win the belt because it's supposed to be the Fiend versus Randy Orton. But one thing I did hear about this match though is that they were talking about having McIntyre drop the match to drop the belt before Mania. And one of the names that was brought up in that match was actually AJ Styles. And the reason why they're saying AJ Styles is because they were trying to make it like a triple threat match that turns into a fatal four-way to where the Miz goes, I'm going to put my money in the bank in there so I can enter the match too. So that was one thing that I was hearing. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to see on that one. Dragon Viper?
I totally agree with Mess Around Dave. I mean, I see Orton winning and then going to WrestleMania face Edge, while I see a triple threat match between KO and Seth Rollins versus Reigns. So and I see Rollins winning it.
Rollins, he's back. That's my guy. That's my dude. Seth freaking Rollins. All right. So it looks like that is going to be the end of our show for the night. So we have 30 seconds to where we're going to be able to go around the room, and any final thoughts, if you want to say, happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there, or whatever you want to say, it's your 30 seconds. So mess around. It starts with you.
Thanks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and share the video, and get yourself in it, win this awesome t-shirt. Don't forget to do all that. That's all I got for you guys. Thanks for watching.
Warren, I will say this, you've commented a lot tonight, buddy, so you have entered yourself a lot into trying to win a t-shirt. You have so many entries tonight with your comments. Thank you for going on there and commenting. Sarge, you have 30 seconds.
All right, I want to say happy Valentine's Day to my wife, Felicia. I love you. And also I have a confession. Mom, Dad, I don't know if you're watching, but during the Attitude Era, I was not watching cartoons downstairs. I was watching WWF. I did not like WCW. I was watching the Attitude Era. So that's all I got.
Well, I guess that's a better confession than what you could have done. All right, so Dragon Viper, you got 30 seconds to say whatever it is you got to say.
Yeah, I totally agree with Sarge. I wasn't watching cartoons or anything like that. I was watching wrestling back then. But I do want to thank everyone for showing up. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone, and we'll see you next week. Next Sunday when we do the pay-per-views. So
yes, and next Sunday again, when next Sunday comes, it will not be Raw and SmackDown again. We will have so much to talk about the pay-per-view that if we have time at the end, we might recap a little bit on Raw and SmackDown. We might tell you who the winners are in the matches of Raw and SmackDown, but we're not going to recap a whole lot because we're going to have a lot to cover for the Elimination Chamber. But I hope everybody had a fantastic Valentine's Day, and I hope everybody enjoyed this episode, of course, of Between the Ropes, where we talked about the Attitude Era, jump back to the 90s, the early 2000s, awesome, and then a little bit of WCW. So I hope everybody had a fantastic time tonight, and you can catch us again next Sunday for another episode of Between the Ropes. So everybody have a fantastic night, and we will see you again.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.